Ladies and gentlemen, hey boys and girls, hello Leonard, welcome back
Hi.
to another episode of the YPFL Talk. And it is
Woo!
episode number
seven.
7, as I was just being told. Yeah, happy to be here with you again on a nice, chill Tuesday evening.
Yeah,
like the weather is
was
getting
so
better
nice
again.
today.
Yeah. Perfectly nice. And last week we had a special podcast episode, so no real event recap and so on. But this week we're back with like the general overview, the points that you have been hearing us talking about, like deck of the week and so on. So yeah, stay tuned for that, and we were talking about that for like half an hour or so. And in the second half of the podcast, we have a very special guest. Actually, our first UK guest, that will be Jake Quinsee for the day. And then we look forward to talk with him and ask him some cool questions. But for now, I would say we should just dive into our first category, which is event recap.
Yes.
So, actually, you are the person that casted a quite nice tournament this weekend. So tell us, what was it?
Yeah, so the CMS, the Card Market Series in Ghent, happened this weekend with 110 players. I think it was a really low number of players, actually. I think it was due to non-ideal advertising. Like the prices that were given out were basically more than they got from the entries of the player. Like the prices were about 20 euros and 70 cents per person, which is also not ideal. So it was a great tournament to play. It was relatively easy to top. But players just didn't come, which I don't understand. But I mean, it was also like a high quality tournament.
Yeah, for sure. You saw a lot of good players joining the player pool there.
Yeah, it's like mostly if you're looking at the top cut, because like many German players went there, I think, or let's not say many, but I think like about 15.
Yeah.
And I think five of them top 8'd. So
that's insane.
Yeah, very German dominated top cut, with actually decks that I didn't expect to underperforming. Like a Thundering Danger made it all the way to the finals, but there was only one in the top cut. Salamangreat was there with 50% with 4 representatives, which one of those was Jonas Kosche, who eventually won the event and went home with $500, which is quite nice, I think.
Really nice, yeah, very nice.
Yeah, and 3 Sky Strikers, so no rogue there, which is also always an indicator for a good tournament. Actually,
definitely.
There's like an only meta top cut, because as we already talked about a lot before, like rogue mostly only beats the good meta decks if the meta player makes mistakes, because usually a meta deck should find ways to beat the rogue deck. Otherwise, the rogue deck wouldn't be rogue.
Yeah, that's why they're rogue. Exactly. That's what I was thinking too. Definitely, yeah.
So
it's kind of nice. You said it. The first prize was 500 euro in card market voucher, and that's like a very good price. And I think it's like kind of similar to events that are happening in the US, like the PPG events and the AAG events. And I think it's kind of nice that we get something similar in Europe now, and I think that is what the Card Market Series is trying to be, like a similar thing to them, and a very good price support indeed. And yeah, I hope that keeps growing, like that more players are attending these events. Would be very nice.
Yeah, I would hope so as well. But okay, so
also they had like some cool side events going on. Like
Goat.
Let's just briefly talk about it. Exactly. There was like another constructed, I think it was called Special Event or something, and a Belgian player, I think David Leroux, if I'm pronouncing that right, won it with Salad, so nothing special there. But we had a Goat event, yeah, as we were saying, and that's pretty nice. Like people are really, I saw on the Instagram page like of the Card Market Series, the post where they were showing that the people are playing Goat was like liked the most for sure. Like people were hyping Goat, and I mean people are always hyping Goat Control. It's like the format of choice, as we all know, for a lot of players, and like the format they're looking back to the most. And yeah, a player with also a Belgian player, one with Chaos Decree Control. I don't know why you call a deck that plays Decree Control, but it seems like you do, because that's how he titled it.
Yeah, I mean, you call BA decks, even though there are 5 BA monsters, so I don't know.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point. Yeah, definitely.
I think deck titles are no longer what they used to be anymore. But let's just move on. Like,
yeah,
let's look
into the future. Yeah, into the future.
So,
sorry.
the first thing is deck of the week that we're always discussing, obviously.
Right.
And I mean, even though Salamangreat won, nothing special has happened to the deck yet. I mean, you're playing 2 Mirage Stalios again, or some players do. I tested it out and it worked just quite nicely, because you don't really want to shuffle it back, because it's just fucking you with your resources. And like in most of the matchups, Dweller is just good or as good or better.
Yeah. You were seeing people cutting out the Bagushka for the Dweller, right? Bagushka isn't necessary anymore. Yeah, but let's move on to the real deck of the week we have chosen.
Yeah, it is Thundering Danger, because of the new spice that hit the deck. I mean, the second place Atlanta deck was Thundering Danger with the Goalie F Combo. People were all hyped about it. You can summon Goliath in your opponent's turn. It's so amazing. Your opponent can't special summon from the extra deck. He gets locked out so easily. Yeah, that's all nice and dandy, but it required you to play quite the number of bricks.
Exactly, yeah.
And what happened to the decks now is that they could cut out like at least the Arcbrave Dragon, and you have more extra deck space by playing not really more extra deck space, but you don't have to go into Dark Matter Dragon, which makes your board arguably weaker, because you have Goliath and Hot Red instead of any Gate and Hot Red. So now you have Hope Harbinger as your level 8 exceeds, because you can just go into Heretic Seal of Heretic Seal being, I don't know the name.
That Dupo thing, yeah, that was just being dropped. Yeah. Very nice import from the OCG.
The balls, correct. Yeah. So as soon as your opponent does something, especially in Salamangreat, I love that part, because as soon as Salamangreat hand traps you, it's pretty easy to still go into like Hot Red and Seal. So you have a bounce on your opponent turn for free, which is against Salamangreat insane, because
just bounce the normal summon and his plan is ruined.
Unless it's Buffalo, because Buffalo also triggers if it's bounced to the hand. It just needs to leave the field. I didn't know that before.
Ooh, wow, that's really nice.
Yeah,
I didn't think about that yet too.
Yeah, I lost to that dueling book because I didn't read the card. Anyways, you can also special summon Goliath. Then Goliath is at 0/0, so arguably weak to the opponent's battle phase, but the Hope Harbinger, which was mainly used for the spell negate up until this point, also has the quite nice effect that he can detach a card and redirect an attack to himself. And
so you can protect
your goalie. Yeah. That really, is actually really cool. Insane and pretty easy to pull off. So the deck got more consistency because you could like play less bricks, which is always nice. And yeah.
I do like it as well. And I think another deck I would like to talk about, like maybe not the deck of the week, but also like a contender for that, is because it will be released very soon, is the Demian Pendulum structure deck. Like it will be getting better with the structure decks. That's why we call it the Pendulum structure deck, whatever. And the main monster basically is the new Endymion, which is another negate on board. And I saw like some combo deck profiles where he was ending on 4 negates, and they will be still playing Jackal King as a monster negate, and then that Endymion, which is basically a spell or trap negate, and then also of course the generic negates as you have Odd Eyes, Absolute Dragon, or Beauregard Dragon, or something like that. Yeah, but it seems very, very, very interesting, and it could make quite an impact, I would say.
Yeah, especially with national season coming up, like we might expect a ban list. So this is definitely a top contender actually. So you should keep your Mythical Beast Cerberus cards, because that one could go up in price actually.
Definitely, and you should also start to learn your Pendulum combos.
Yeah, true.
Like it's not always as easy as Pendulum summon 5, and
not anymore. But Pendulum Pendulum feels so clunky right now. I hate the deck. I hate playing it.
Did you test it a little?
Yeah, and it felt shit. I didn't play the Endymion variant so far, but this Pendulum tops some events and is always like pretty good at regionals. But honestly, I don't really see why, because the deck just feels terrible. Like, you can break boards, but then you most likely won't OTK.
Yeah.
Unless your hand is like super insane, and then you're still going to lose. I'm not a big fan of the deck right now. But it could change with the Endymion. Like, the boards can like go completely insane with this new Endymion boss monster that they have.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how big of an impact that will make, and I'm really looking forward to that. How that turns out, whether it will be another structure deck, as it was Monarchs or Salamangreats, that will just completely shift the metagame once more.
But I mean, like, there are still some pretty cool reprints. So you can get Droll, Blockbird, and Desires in common now. That is nice. So everyone can still profit from that structure deck, I think, even if the cards might be shit. You also just have to think, like, how hard do these decks lose to hand traps? Like, Pendulum always had a big weakness versus Ghost Ogre, at least on Electromite, I think, even though Pendulum Call kind of prevented it. But I don't know, like, if Ghost Ogre is crazy against that, then Ghost Ogre is good against Sky Striker, Thunder, and Endymion. So this basically makes you want to play the card. Then you have to think, if you're playing against many Salamangreat players, against which Ghost Ogre is like rather just mediocre. So there is something interesting for your theory crafting.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we should move on to our player of the week.
Yeah.
Who was also talking about Ghost Ogre being like, nah, at the moment, not really his hand trap of choice, which is Jonas Koschel, who obviously won the event, as we were talking about it earlier, the Card Market Series event in Ghent.
Yeah.
And he played his signature Salamangreat deck. He has been playing it for a while now. And did you watch his deck profile?
Actually, not.
Actually, it was kind of funny. He was telling the audience that he was really in a hurry because he came there 20 minutes before the start of the event, and he didn't write his deck list yet. So he was just like, okay, I cannot think about any potential changes, so I will just play the exact same list as I was playing last week on a regional. So that was his approach there. And I think he played 2 Ghost Ogre and then 2 Impermanence, and like also triple Veiler and triple Ash, of course, as his hand traps, and Phantasme too. So like just all the hand traps and no Will, for example. He was playing no Will of the Salamangreat for a while now, but in the deck profile he actually stated out that he would like to play it again, but he just had no time to actually figure out what he would be cutting for it. So also a nice fun fact, he only played 14 side deck cards in the end because he forgot to write out the Imperial Order on his deck list. And he still managed to defeat a lot of Sky Striker players, even without that card being in his side deck.
If you have seen like what the games versus Sky Striker were, basically, like, his opponent could have easily won the entire game if he activated the Heater effect that he summoned. He summoned Heater and then didn't activate the effect, and Jonas was like, okay, what?
That sounds strong.
Yeah.
Really strong.
His opponent just didn't go into Unicorn earning Girsu to remove the just Falco set Salamangreat Circle, which eventually got Jonas's Gazelle, so...
That seems reasonable. Nice. Yeah, but I mean, still, huge congratulations to Jonas that he finally managed to win. I don't know whether you can call it a major event, but like, I think he probably
won the final once.
Did he?
Yes, he did it.
Yeah, finally now. So, yeah, I mean, it was only 110 players, and he probably can be more proud of like a top 8 feature finish at the German Open, but still, this time he took away €500 in card market cash. So
I'd take that.
Worth a little more than a deck box. Oh no, not even a deck box. Than just the play mat.
Yeah, but like Cologne gave out big displays, special edition displays as well for top 8.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, they promoted the event heavily. That's true. Yeah, and our card of the week, I think you already teased it a little bit.
Yeah.
And it is the Heretic Seal from Dual Power, which just enables the deck to be a lot more consistent and to end on a better field, basically, because that protection effect of Harbinger can really come in clutch. It's like very, very good to save that Goliath being destroyed by battle. That comes up a lot, I would say.
Yeah, I think so too. Like, the card is actually insane. Also, it is a good way to swap your extra monster zone after you've done your guard dragon shenanigans, so you have more space, more extra zones for your colossuses or extra negates or whatnot. So this card actually helps the deck to maybe survive a hit on Saryuja if it goes to
possibly, yeah. That, and then still the deck still remains kind of relevant. It's also nice if you're playing against Sky Striker, and normally they could just attack with the Ray over the Goliath, and then they can activate the effect of Ray and go into like some of his extra deck monsters. And I saw matches where the opponent had that Harbinger combo on board, Harbinger Goliath, and the Sky Striker player didn't even realize the second effect of Harbinger. Like, that Harbinger can negate spells. That's like what he was designed for, what he was used for before. But then he was just attacking with his with his Ray into the Goliath. And then his opponent says, yeah, okay, Harbinger, so that didn't really help you a whole lot, I would say. That was really, really nice. And that phase of the Sky Striker player wasn't too happy. I mean, he also only started with, I think, 3 cards in hand, so his happiness level wasn't at his best all the time. But
yeah, you don't usually get through the boards of the Thunder Dragon players. It's like as soon as they went like full combo, you're in such a big disadvantage.
Yeah.
You would think that it doesn't matter what kind of combo you play in the end, because like 2 kind of negates or two random negates and 2 colossus and 2 cards ripped out of your hand should be enough all the time. But I think in some situations it actually matters, and also it is quite important that you survive hand traps. And I think Heretic Seal is just basically a real big boost for the deck to not die to getting hand trapped twice or thrice even, and then instantly losing to your opponent. But you still have stuff to play, and that is so amazing about the deck.
Definitely. So I would say let's move on to our next point, which is, as always, news time.
Yeah.
And there have been some cool news, actually, like some cooler and not so cool. I would say, well, let's just start with the really cool ones. And the Gold Sarcophagus tins were announced by Konami.
Yeah, those look really nice.
Yeah, and I think they will be released in August. Like, that's normally when the Mega Tins have been arriving. But this time, this is a substitute for the Mega Tins. So there's not the general Mega Tin anymore. And we have that Gold Sarcophagus tin now. And they announced some cool facts next to it. For example, they will be introducing the Prismatic Rare.
Yeah,
and we were talking about that before.
Really amazing.
Yeah, like new rarities always are cool because you have something to add on. Like a new rarity, it's just a new possibility you have. If you want to have a full Prismatic Rare deck, you can now do so. I don't know how many Prismatic Rares there will be in, so your deck choice could be limited a little, but I mean, still you can play Prismatic Rares. But and also, which I think was pretty interesting, they announced that they will have rarity changes. So the cards will appear in a different rarity than they have been in the original set.
Ooh, that makes sense, actually.
Yeah, that's pretty nice, I think. And also they already announced, they like teased some cards that will be in the set for sure, or in the tin. And I think that was Called by the Grave and Dangerous Tsuchinoko. Was there anything else?
There was one other card, but that was like the least exciting one, so I don't remember yet.
Yeah. The people were hyped about Called by the Grave and Tsuchinoko, especially Tsuchinoko, of course. Because Tsuchinoko will be in there and it will not be a secret rare, so that's pretty good, I think. And I also look forward to like Highware Called by the Grave. I mean, imagine secret rare Called by the Grave. That would be pretty
Imagine
cool.
prismatic rare Called by the Grave. That would be so amazing.
Yeah, that also would be very, very nice. You're
that
right.
card would have also been really nice in the new OTS 10, but that was a transition, wasn't it?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so OTS 10 was announced, and I have no idea.
the actual cards were leaked, yeah.
Like, who why would you do this, Konami? Like, okay, we can see that you want to like make all the Sky Striker Link monsters ultimate rare, and that is really nice for Sky Striker players. And I mean the players who still enjoy the deck after 1 year. It kind of scares the players who are hoping for Sky Striker to finally get hit, because it gets really boring to play against the deck from time to time, because it just outgrinds everything and always.
Agreed.
So yeah, I mean, kind of just got a meme that they reprint the Link monsters in Ultimate Rare. I'm not a big fan of it, but well, that's not the worst about this pack, anyways. Galatea,
expectable, yeah.
Yeah, Galatea Ultimate Rare is actually quite nice, because the deck will become much better with the next set. Like, Orcust wasn't good yet. The deck is like already really strong, but now Galatea is like very key to just setting counter trap by its own effect. That is really great.
Yeah, that seems like something Salamangreat was already abusing, and now that deck will also get that option.
So I think Galatea just deserved the Ultimate Rare print. I don't know why the fuck they had to rarity bump Colossus, because the card already costs like 40 euros.
I don't get it at all. 30. I think that could actually lead to the price point of Colossus being reduced, right? I mean, the Ultimate Rare might be cheaper. I mean, we saw like the last Ultimate Rares from OTS Pack 9 being like 15 euro or something, and maybe Colossus is going that route too, and so that would be a good thing.
It's really weird, actually. I think they could use this Ultimate Rare spot to bump up cards that deserve it, like Dweller or Called, as I said already. That would be so nice, but no, they have to take Colossus. I mean, the card kind of... I think you only deserve it as a card if you have won a YCS yet.
So Sun and Dragon Colossus?
Yeah, so...
choice, right?
so like, the rest of the cards... I mean, we have 3 super rare cards that are good, which would be Solar, Hita, and the Sunlight Wolf. You could also argue for the Kaijus, but like, from that point on, this whole OTS is just basically trash.
Definitely. Like, the rest of the super rares is like Revolving Switchyard. Hey, I can play trains with a super rare Revolving Switchyard, and I mean, I don't want to play trains at all, so why would I play it in super rare? Like,
yeah,
I'm
the
really
Trickstar token, like, Trickstar doesn't even make tokens, I think.
There must be a card that produces token, otherwise it would really make no sense.
Yeah, but like, it doesn't even look like something Trickstar. It's just like a flying heart. It's this OTS pack is ridiculous. Let's move on to something nice. Do we have anything else for news time, or was that everything?
I think you already said that the reprint of Droll and Desires now is finally confirmed, because we saw like the back of the structure deck, so that definitely will happen, and we will get that. So that's like kind of news too. But I think that's it. There's nothing really more to add to the news section.
Yeah, so I guess we can move on finally to the interesting part of our podcast. We are going to interview another pro player. Our special guest for today, for the YPFL Talk episode 7, is Jake Quinsee.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hello.
Thanks for having me.
Really nice to have you. So first of all, it would be nice if you could just give a brief introduction to yourself or to the audience, and tell the people how old you are and how long you have been in the game and stuff like that. Just
cool.
To introduce.
So I'm Jake Quinsee. I'm from the United Kingdom. I live in Huddersfield, close to Manchester, and I've been playing the game for quite a long time. I started in 08, competitively in 09. I've taken numerous breaks during this period, but I'd say I'd probably played for at least 7 years over the last 11 years anyway.
That was a pretty quick get into the competitive scene, right? I mean, you started in 08, and then in 09 you already get into the competitive scene? Like you were...
So well, I knew of Yu-Gi-Oh in school. My brother showed me it actually. I was in middle school, and I just loved the game. I loved the cartoon. It was one thing that got me up in the morning, was watching it on TV, so I could go to school. So otherwise I'd stay in bed. So the cartoon hooked me. I'm sure it hooked everyone else, and
for sure.
And so I obviously had cards when I was younger, and then all of a sudden I just jumped well, I went to a local tournament in Sheffield, and it started there really. Actually, it was great.
Yeah, and you made quite a journey from that point on, I would say, because right now you're pretty much involved in the word points race. I think that's fair to say. And
yeah,
can you tell us in which position you are right now in the tableau?
Sure. So the world points got updated a few weeks ago. So currently I'm ranked 9th.
Yeah.
It's really close. There's potentially 11 players who are still in this race. I'm pretty sure Raphael has locked his spot anyway. So congrats to him. Yeah. And Tom Rose is very close to locking his spot as well. So regardless, whoever goes out of the 11 to make the tournament of 8, it's going to be rather stacked. Like all the players are pretty solid, so it's going to be a really tough tournament. But in order to do well at Worlds, you need to play against the best. And I've been doing the grind since the beginning, and it's crazy actually. I've been everywhere, and I'm still going everywhere. So the season's nearly up. So hopefully I managed to come like in the top 8. Hopefully I'll come like 7th or 8th.
Yeah. So I'm thankful to be in that 9th spot right now, right?
Yeah. It's not great. I was actually 5th, I believe, off the previous update. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of it hits me quite hard actually that I've been dropped to 9th. However, I did have a poor few months, and my competitors they've done really well actually. So I think the German Open was the main event that.
Yeah, I wanted to point that out. Like that probably was a big breaking point, right? Because you didn't really perform very well there, or did you?
Yeah, I went, of course, but I played the wrong deck. I played Thunder Dragons, and I should have just played like Solomon Great or Striker because they're the most consistent decks. And Chaos Dragons, well, Thunder Dragons can lose to a hand trap, and at the right time anyway. So I definitely played the wrong deck. I finished like 75th, so I got a few points. However, all my competitors pretty much got to the top 16 minimum, and that's at least like 60 points.
Yeah, so, of course. And do you think it's like even kind of a psychic challenge or like a mental challenge, that world points race, taking a whole year and like the whole grind thing? Could you go deeper into that? How that affects your mood or something like that, maybe?
Yeah, it's weird, really. I mean, for people that are listening now, and if they're considering doing it next year, the main thing I would say how challenging it is. I've literally told myself I'm going to fully commit from September to May, and I'm going to play every weekend. I'm going to travel where I need to travel and go to. I'm going to prepare myself mentally, so go to the gym here and there. And one downside to it, because you're traveling a lot and you're playing lots of tournaments, you're not going to really have you're probably going to gain weight, if I'm completely honest, because of the food options really in the events that you go to. And so that was a downside to it. So I've gained a bit of weight doing this Worlds race, but other than that, I've pretty much scheduled everywhere I'm going to, where I'm visiting, where I'm competing, where would give me the most points. And I think you need to commit to that. I think if you need to literally tell yourself, are you going for it or not? And if you tell yourself you are, you need to just give it everything you've got. And if you decide not to, then that's completely understandable. Tom Rose, for example, he was unsure if he was going to go for it. To be honest, it never really crossed his mind. I spoke to him in October, and he did pretty well in some events. And he said to me, Jake, if I get some, if I do quite well in the first quarter, I'm going to go give it a shot, because who doesn't want to go to the Worlds? And I completely agree. And then look at him now; he's currently second, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, and what was your start? Oh yeah, go for it, Leo.
Okay, so what I was thinking is that usually when I enter tournaments like YCSs or something like that, I'm pretty stressed before, basically, because I really want to perform well, or even big regionals. So if you're in this competition right now, this really close competition where you basically have to perform, otherwise that was like one year that seemed kind of wasted. I don't know if you see it that way. I think that probably some of the players who wouldn't make it would look at it this way. Like how hard is it to actually sleep at night if you know that if you're messing up like one or two tournaments, that you know that this was all for nothing, basically?
Yeah, good question. So you need to tell yourself that people aren't going to make it, basically, and you only can get out of it as much as you put in. And when I compete in tournaments, I am thinking in my head that I need to win. This is going to cost me points if I don't. And I've played numerous tournaments, and a few tournaments actually. I made a few mistakes, and it cost me quite a big chunk of points. And it included costing me Utrecht, the 200 YCS top. So it's the one thing that I've learned the hard way and in a good way as well is not to punish myself for things I can't control. However, but just to work on myself in where places I can control. So, when I do play an event and I lose and I get unlucky, that it just is what it is. I can't really control that. And if I do kick off or just complain or moan, it just doesn't. I won't look in a good light, if I'm honest, and it's not good for mentality for the next round, because you've got all this emotion built up that you don't, or you've just shown, and you don't want to bring that into the next match. You just need to be positive, really, and just play the best you can and see if you can finish high to gain those points. So that's the best. That's what really goes through my head, to be honest. I don't really let it affect me if I get unlucky or if I lose by playing bad or by playing correct.
Yeah, that's a very professional approach, I would say. Definitely.
Thanks.
And also, a thing I would like to mention is you are without a real team. Is that correct? Like a Yu-Gi-Oh team?
Yes, that's right. Yes.
So isn't that quite a big disadvantage in that command? Because you cannot share this experience with like any teammates, and they cannot help you with that.
Yeah, it's a weird one, really. So I've got multiple players from different teams who are a part of big teams currently. So it kind of does give me a disadvantage. And the reason why I've turned team membership down is because of YPFL City. So it's a store in the UK that I run, and it would be kind of not exactly, in a way, the wrong business decision to be part of a team advertising for a different store, for example. I think that's probably the business side to look at it.
Yeah,
However,
makes perfect sense, yeah.
it is at a disadvantage because there's so many talented players in Europe and in the world, to be honest. And look at E-Man, they've got a solid team. Look at ARG Europe, they've got a strong team now. And fortunately, though, I do have friends on both sides, so I obviously don't know what they're playing coming up to an event. But if you look at the last season, I built all my decks myself. So apart from the YCS Melbourne deck with Ryan Levine and Bowden, we all built the Spiral deck. However, moving forward from that, all the other lists were pretty much mine. So like for Euros, I played a 45 card Goalie list. And then pretty much every event after that, I've built my own lists and my own decks. I think that's a skill that I've learned over the years, which is coming very handy, is how to build decks. So going back to your question, I do think I am at a disadvantage not being in a team, because I do think I may have won a YCS by now. Because I've been quite close numerous times, but it's if you look at the business side of it again, it's just probably something it's quite risky doing.
Yeah, I mean, I can totally understand that. If it's just a business decision, that's just the normal thing on Earth, I think, just deciding against it. But it just is a disadvantage, as I was thinking, yeah. So that already was pretty insightful. So, Leo, what do you think? Should we jump into the first mini game of the evening?
Yeah, sure. So, Jake, what's going to happen now is we are going to play a game called Quick Spell.
Okay.
We're setting a timer, 1 minute 30 exactly.
Yep.
And I'm going to ask you some questions, and you will try to answer those as quickly as you can to gain as many points as you can.
Okay.
So, if you don't know the answer to a question, you can, of course, skip it.
Yep.
If you, I think that's it, actually. I think
It's pretty easy, yeah.
It's a shame these aren't for world points, because I'd go pretty fast.
I mean, we can talk about it with Konami, but I'm not very positive on that now. So I will keep track of the timer, and I will just count you in. So I will count you in from 3 to 0.
Sure. 3,
2, 1, go.
Name a level 8 spellcaster monster.
Pass.
How many traveling persons are depicted on There Can Only Be One?
4.
Which deck won YCS Bochum 2016?
I was there as well. Pass.
Who did you beat in the last round of day 1 in Bochum 2016?
Who did I beat? Pass.
Yeah, it was me. So, name one OTS 10 common. Name one OTS 10 common.
Breaker, the Magical Warrior.
What are the defense points of Cyber Dragon?
1600.
Name 3 Cyberse monsters except Solomon Great cards.
Firewall Dragon. Underclock Taker. And there's so many. Pass.
Name the Guard Dragon Link monsters.
I'm all for this. Pass.
How many monster zones does Speed Duel have?
3.
Okay, guys, that's it.
Oh, you're horrible.
I'm terrible. I know, right? I can see them in my head, but I don't know all the names.
It's fine. It's fine. You scored a total of, let me just count, 3 honorable points. Still,
those.
Yeah, so still you defeated Leo in the final round of Swiss of day 1, so you did better than him there, so I guess it's kind of fine.
Actually, that was quite a funny game because I have never played against Paleo before that, and we were like X1-1 up to that point, and you played Paleo, and I was like, I actually didn't even think the deck was good, so I completely ignored it during testing.
Yep.
I have no idea why the fuck I'm so bad, but anyways, we just played there, and I was like, oh my god, I have no idea what all these cards do, and then you just told me like after game 3 that I had game like 20 times, but I just didn't do it, so I lost.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't have told you that to make you feel bad. Yeah, Paleo, I literally built the day before, and it just looked like the correct deck to play. It was really fun to play as well.
Yeah, this loss still bugs me because I still don't know how I could have won that. But actually, I also don't remember the cards that were on the field. So, yeah.
What did you play? Did you play Necros?
Malifaux.
Malifaux? Okay. No, Necros was the Bochum before that, right?
Yeah, right. I think so.
Definitely, yeah. So, moving on to our next segment is a thing we would like to talk about with you is your connection to poker. If you would like to talk about that with us, is that like okay for you? Because some people in the Yu-Gi-Oh community always are like into poker, and I think it's kind of similar because both are card games in some way and so on. So how does that? What are the similarities between poker and Yu-Gi-Oh? And like, what could help you in Yu-Gi-Oh? What you learned in poker, for example? Are there like anything? Is there like anything?
Yeah, there's many traits.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
Very well for both games. So, poker and Yu-Gi-Oh, they're very similar in their own unique way. And the best way to simplify it really is, in poker you've got 2 random hole cards that are dealt to you, and then X amount of community cards on the board, so 3, 4, 5. And no one's going to know what your 2 hole cards are unless you can work them out. Yeah. And it's very similar to Yu-Gi-Oh. So when you're playing the game, you start with 5 hidden cards that your opponent doesn't know about, and then until you start playing them on the board, or you can call it the community board if you want to. Very similar to poker, and then you can basically, it's process of elimination to work out what cards they have, and that will therefore go back into poker, where you can work out what cards or what holding they have, or what combinations of cards they have. So you can basically, let's say you start off with a chart of deuce, so 2-2 and 2-3 offsuit, and then go into the suit. Basically, you go through every combination of poker hands, and as you're playing the hand that's being played, you can eliminate combinations of holdings your opponent will have in their hand. And then it makes your decision easier. So you can apply that to Yu-Gi-Oh as well. So let's say for example, your opponent, let's say they play reinforcements of the army, and straight away as a first card they play, you can then eliminate decks that they're playing, for example, of a chart, if there is one, which would probably a good idea to make one, actually, because I think that would be a good business idea. So they play Roto, you can work out straight away what they could be playing. And then when they add the card to the hand, and then you know straight away what they are playing. And then as they're playing cards, you can eliminate combinations of combos or cards that they have in the hand, or they do have in the hand, based on how they're playing. So the skills transition really well. And if you are good at Yu-Gi-Oh, you can have that in poker and be good at that. And then you can strengthen that skill in both games, and then when you go back into Yu-Gi-Oh, that skill will be stronger, and then you can do better. So I think one of my key skills is being able to read my opponents and working out what they have and what they don't have, and I think that's probably got me where I am, really.
So you basically profited in both games by playing the other game in some way.
Yes, that's the best way I could say it. I mean, I started playing the game just after I won nationals in 2011. My friend showed, so I was 18, and I played my first tournament in a live casino, which I won, actually. Surprisingly, the first one I played, I won. And I just used everything I knew in Yu-Gi-Oh in poker, and before I knew it, I was doing well. And then I came back into Yu-Gi-Oh late 2011 for YCS Brighton, and I did quite well in that. I made the top 16. And then the year after, I just destroyed the format because of poker, really. So I went undefeated in Long Beach at the 100th YCS in Swiss. I went undefeated in Euros in Swiss. I lost it to Joshua Schmidt in top 16. And then I believe, so yeah, basically I pretty much topped everything. I came third in Toulouse that format, and in poker as well, it was crazy. I played a big 2-day festival tournament. I finished third out of about 150 players who were quite well known. So there's many traits, really, that when you can just basically see from the results, that's proof enough that it works by playing both games.
Yeah. Of course, we just came to that connection because we saw pictures of you on your Facebook page, like holding trophies of poker tournaments. So we could see that you're into poker and that you're pretty good at poker, obviously. So
yeah, it's crazy because when I play in tournaments and stuff, and they see my Yu-Gi-Oh pictures and etc. They ask me about the game, and then surprisingly, people actually ask me, "Am I better? Which game am I better at?" And then if I say I'm better at Yu-Gi-Oh, they laugh at me in the poker, or if I say I'm better at poker and they laugh at me at Yu-Gi-Oh, it's just a ever-ending circle, really. But the beauty about poker is it's allowed me to play in all over, in Vegas multiple times. I've even played the World Series poker main event.
Nice.
And I played some crazy events really, and yeah, I mean that the first prize for that event was $8.5 million. So it's crazy what you can win in that game in comparison to YCSs, for example.
Yeah, definitely. But also, like, you could compare the mental part in some way as well, I would guess, because poker obviously has like downswings and upswings as well. So you would have to deal with it mentally as well. So what do you think where it is easier to actually, it's probably easier in Yu-Gi-Oh! Because there's like not that monetary downside when not performing well, but still you have been traveling the whole year. But is it comparable anyway?
Yes, it's very similar. So you need to never let your emotions get to you, because if you do, then you've already lost in a way. So I hope people listening take that on board. I do think as well that my true success to poker is I have no value for money. I don't value it, and I know pretty much everyone else does, or a high percentage of people do. So when I play the game, I work out my opponent, and if I know my opponent and if they know they do value it, then I'll put them to the test. I'll put them in spots they've never been in spots before, where they're going to really, they're going to really struggle to make a decision, or the correct decision, or they're going to, or it's going to cross their mind like, I can't afford to lose all this money, etc. So I'll make them really, try, go at it really.
And that again can be transferred to Yu-Gi-Oh as well. Like if you're playing against an unexperienced player in the last round of Swiss, you can really put the pressure on him, right? That's like
exactly
very similar too.
Yeah, but very similar. I mean, you can play aggressive in a way where you can basically, instead of playing conservative against a certain opponent, you can just go all out and put them to the test really. And then going back to like the hand charts for poker and working out what your opponent has, and as they're playing, you know when to go be aggressive and when not to be aggressive because of how they played. So then you can be less conservative, and you can just literally go for the win and win.
Yeah, perfect.
Well, I would love to be in a position where I could not care about money.
Yeah. If you do play poker, that's the thing I would definitely recommend doing. And even in Yu-Gi-Oh, I mean, like if you need to just forget about, I'm only like, I know I need to win a YCS. You need to take it one round at a time. So you just need to literally be in that mindset and just take it one game at a time, and then you'll start to get results because you're making every correct decision each game you're playing.
Yeah, at least disconnect like emotionally from the money, right? In some way. Things that
you do need to do that. Yeah, it's in Yu-Gi-Oh as well, because people think, I need to buy all these cards to compete, and you do. The game, that's what the game is. You need to buy these cards to compete, and you need to tell yourself, right, Phantasmic, for example, it's probably not in, you need to tell yourself, I need to drop X amount of money to get these cards because it gives me a good advantage against most matchups. So, and every deck link summons, for example. So you need to be prepared to spend money in the game as well to get results.
Yeah. So again, I think that was really, really insightful. And I would like to go for our next, let's call it mini game in some way, which is counter traps. Leo, would you explain it once more?
So counter trap is, I'm just going to do the same introduction as always. Counter traps is a really cringy name because we are just going to ask you some questions, and as soon as you answer them, we can't respond. So it means we're just going to ask you stuff, and you can just throw out whatever statement you like, and we won't have the chance to respond that. So this is like the ideal time for you to say something to the world without having a discussion.
Yeah, spell speed 3. Yeah.
I see. So you could ask me a question in which you can't respond to.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So 10 questions in total. And I will just start off with number 1, which is what do you think is your biggest skill in Yu-Gi-Oh! That differentiates you from the other players?
There's definitely 2 things. So I'll just go with the one. I think deck building. I think that gives me a strong advantage over certain players.
All right. Second question. What is your favorite Yu-Gi-Oh! Format of all time?
Oh, now you're asking. So...
No, that is question number 2.
Yeah. It's going to be, that's so difficult. So many fun formats. However, this format, people won't probably agree. I love Frog FTK. That was my favorite.
The fuck? Okay, not
no reactions, please. But like, I was wondering too. Okay, so third question is, what was the biggest cash game pot you ever scooped in a poker game?
What about in a cash game? It would be probably about £7,800, I'd say.
All right. Next question. For the future, for how long do you see yourself in Yu-Gi-Oh?
I would see myself in it for quite some time now, especially since I set up a business revolving around it. And the game keeps changing and evolving and growing. And they've obviously released speed duels as well. And Duel Links came out a few years ago, so I can see myself in it for quite a long time, I'd say. So yeah, I think it's a good decision as well because it's really fun.
Okay. How do people usually react when you tell them that you're playing Yu-Gi-Oh on a competitive level?
It depends who I speak to. So if I speak to someone quite quite intelligent or intriguing, if I speak to someone who's just a nice sort of person, that they take it on well, they're really interested. Actually, quite a lot of people are interested in Yu-Gi-Oh and they want to know more about it, or they always see that I'm traveling or going all over to compete, and they're just asking, why are you going there, what are you doing there? And I tell them more about the game and what it's about, and they're really interested, actually. And obviously you get the few people who only really know it from school, so some people will maybe laugh and stuff, but if they knew where I was going, how much I was making, or how I was how I was doing in the events as well, and the friends I'm making and the people I'm networking with, they can't really compare it to what they're doing, I don't think, because I think I'm really fortunate in what I'm doing. So I wouldn't change it for the world. I really wouldn't.
Perfect. Because it's almost banlist time, what is the change you're wishing the most?
The change I wish the most. I really would like. I really would like Summon Limit to be banned. It's a bit of a weird one, but I think the card's very underrated, and it's very similar to Vantage Emptiness in some sense now. And I do think a card like that remembers your opponent, or remembers players summoning in the turn, that it shouldn't be allowed. So if you summon two monsters and then you flip it up, they're just literally locked out of the game. And I don't think that should be a card that should be allowed to be played.
Okay. What is your favorite YCS location?
I've been to quite a few. However, I love Prague. For some reason, Prague's great. Everyone goes there. It's rather cheap to get to. There's a Hard Rock Cafe there, which all the players go to. It's really nice. Everyone's nice there. Obviously, the girls are really nice in Prague. So it's a no-brainer. I'm going to go with Prague.
When you would have to choose one team to join in the Yu-Gi-Oh circuit, which one would you join?
Oh, that's a question. I don't really think I can answer that because I have so many friends in multiple teams. However, I like Jim from ARG. Me and Jim talk quite often, and he's a really understanding guy. He's rather smart as well. So I mean, ARG would be a great team to join. You've got Bowden. Bowden's hilarious. I mean, if you've ever had a conversation or if you ever hang out with him, he is so funny. We've been in a few casinos, and we've had some riot stories. Jeff's great. Jeff's really nice. We've played a few times and we just get on well. And Max, Jeff introduced me to Max, and Max is lovely. There's so many players on ARG that I really like, and obviously a good friend of mine, Parks, Luke, he lives up the road from me. So he's on there, so it'd be nice to collab with him as well. Well, we play together all the time, so
yeah.
ARG.
So, what was the craziest regional location you traveled to for the World Points race?
Craziest would be Oh, where did we go? So I hired a car between me and some friends, and we went all the way down south in the UK. I think it's Southampton we went to, and it was so long. I was driving for hours. It was horrible. And the going back to a previous question in a previous segment, I I was one place off 1 point, and I was so frustrated I didn't get that 1 point on the driving home. I was telling myself this trip has been wasted. I didn't even get 1 point, and if I got that 1 point by finishing a place higher, I would have been satisfied. I could have drove home nice, and I could have a laugh with my friends in the car. But I was just so frustrated for some strange reason that I just bubbled a point. So yeah, Southampton would be the answer.
Then 1 point. Okay, last question. Or rather, your possibility to give some shout outs. Do you have any final shout outs?
Yeah, so shout out to YPFL City. It's my business in the UK. I ship around Europe. I ship in the UK. I ship worldwide, actually. And it's European English cards, all brand new. So players always order from me usually. Well, the retainment is quite high. So if someone orders from me, they'll order again because they get the cards pretty much the next day, or a few days later. If it's from if it's like Europe, for example, or if it's America, then I have to wait a week. I got so many shout outs, like Luke Parks, a friend of mine. There's so many friends in the UK. There's just literally so many, and even if I announce so many people now, everyone's going to hate me because I've not announced them. So pretty much, okay, everyone in the UK, everyone in Europe, everyone in the world who plays Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm going to give a shout out to everyone. And here's to a great year that we're all going to have. I think that's the best way.
Wasn't that sweet?
Absolutely, yeah.
So I think as we have gone through all our topics that we were up to today, we can call it a day. Correct ourselves up some cold ones or whatever you want to do with your evening. Probably someone is going to watch Game of Thrones. Well, I am. Anyways, thank you for being here, Jake. Thank you to all the viewers. And next week we are going to interview Farfa. So stay tuned for that. Nadir Mazuni or something like that.
I guess
Also, stay tuned for the Ultimate Guard Cup on Thursday, no, it's top 16 now. Alibaba is playing versus who's Alibaba playing against? Do you know that?
I'm not 100% sure. Just give me a second. I will just check again. But I mean, the people will see. So just tune in on Thursday at the regular time of 9:15, and you will see who they're playing against.
Yeah, and it's not a 9:15 UK time. It's MESZ German time. I think that's it. Not the UK time, because they are an hour earlier, as I have learned today. I should have known that earlier, actually. So, anyways, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks again, Jake. It was a pleasure.
And we wish you all a good night.
Bye, guys.
See ya, Guy.
Thanks for having me.